There's no question we are evolving towards the fourth density. Fourth density consciousness is synonymous with saying heart-based consciousness. Consciousness can never de-evolve. It can never descend back into ignorance. Once it has truly seen something, once it's truly awakened, the ego's only functions are lack, attachment, and control. And they correlate to our lower three chakras. True spiritual pointers tell you what not to do, rather than like, do this and you'll be enlightened. It doesn't work like that. There's nothing you can do to be enlightened. A dissolving, a forgiving, a surrendering, a letting go, a not doing, in other words, is how we actually open the heart. Enlightenment is simply just the ability to be in loving relationship with everything. You have to love the path to enlightenment to be worthy of enlightenment.
I'm sitting here, I'm like, whoa, you just nailed all the things that I struggle with.
If you're really looking for the most bang for your buck spiritual practice, well, you can ask yourself, we can see many physical forms of relationship in the universe, right? The earth is the best place to look for that. Everything in the earth is very cyclical and it's all based on a mutual giving and receiving. But the actual giving and receiving is done kind of prior to that, right? Metaphysically, which is the attitude of the heart. So for example, you do not give to someone or something that you fear or that you don't trust or that you hate or judge, right? You close off from that which you fear and judge. So to actually perform the function of giving and receiving, you have to be in your heart. Only the heart can do that, because the ego, and I have my first book about this very topic, The 3 Beliefs of Ego. I discussed this in pretty good detail, that the ego's only functions are lack, attachment, and control. Those are the 3 beliefs of the ego, and they correlate to our lower 3 chakras. So balancing the lower 3 energy centers is synonymous with saying we have to transcend and integrate our beliefs in lack, attachment, and control. So the belief that I'm incomplete in some way, that there's not enough here, there's something I'm missing, that's a fundamental human belief, right? And so the degree to which we believe that, the heart must shut off to that degree, because the heart doesn't know lack, right? It doesn't have the ability to channel and use the energy of lack. It can only use the energy of abundance. And so then likewise, at the second chakra, if we believe that my happiness depends on outcomes, I have to go out into the world and find happiness by, winning pleasurable, positive outcomes, and then I'll truly be happy. That philosophy is the second belief of ego. My happiness is outside. And so the degree to which I really believe that and act on that, my heart has to shut off as well. And then the third and final belief at the solar plexus, we know that that's kind of the energy center for your personal willpower, your mental world, and your social persona, how you show up in the world. Our projections and judgments come predominantly from the solar plexus. And so that's the belief in being in control, that I am the separate self. I'm living down here, little planet Earth, all by myself. And I got to figure this thing out and make it work for me and get the outcomes I want and chase my desires, because no one else out there is going to do it for me. So that's a normal prevailing human attitude, of course. Nobody would even question that. And yet, from the perspective of spiritual philosophy, or non-duality, if you prefer, that is an absolute delusion to think that, because our universe is infinite. There's only one being, which is God. And so you can't say that any separate finite entity is in control of the universe, any more than one could say that a wave in the ocean is controlling the whole ocean in order to wave itself. It's the opposite, right? The whole ocean is controlling that one wave. And so it is with you and I. We are God appearing. We are the divine mind dreaming of itself in all these unique ways. And so the degree to which I think I'm not that, but I'm a separate self, apart from God, apart from others, and I'm in control, the heart has to shut off to that degree as well. So when we talk about how to access the heart, or to activate the heart and thereby ascend our consciousness to the fourth density frequency level, there's nothing we actually do in a sense. The heart can't be opened with effort, but rather it has to be an undoing, right? It has to be a dissolving, a forgiving, a surrendering, a letting go, a not doing, in other words, is how we actually open the heart. Stop believing that I'm incomplete. Don't attach. Give up control. You notice that true spiritual pointers in this way are always kind of phrased in the negative, aren't they? They tell you what not to do rather than like, do this and you'll be enlightened. It doesn't work like that. There's nothing you can do to be enlightened, but you can give up the false more and more, right? You can lay down your delusions and your ignorance more and more. And slowly and but surely, and in some very rare cases, all at once, that enlightenment will naturally dawn. And what is enlightenment? In my personal perspective, enlightenment is simply just the ability to be in loving relationship with everything.
Mm.
So when I master relationship itself, in other words, which again is just giving and receiving, when I master the ability to always be in those two states, which is really one state, but for the sake of understanding it, we can say it's two states, giving and receiving. That means I have to be shining, extending, giving, blessing, helping, serving, right? I'm here to bless and help. That's the giving, right? It's an attitude, it's a disposition. It's not so much an action, it's a way of being. So that's the first half of the state. I'm always looking to help and be of service. And then the receiving is the opposite, right? It's the accepting, it's the not resisting, it's the giving up control, it's accepting whatever life brings me, knowing that it's God's highest will for me. So those two states, which we could also call sharing and accepting, giving and receiving, sharing and accepting, synonymous. When I master the ability to be in that state and remain in that state, no matter who's in front of me, no matter what situation I'm in, to me, that's enlightenment. The ability to be in loving relationship with everything at all times.
I'm just sitting here. First of all, I didn't know you wrote a book. Is this all in that book?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I haven't been this excited to read a book in a while. That,
Nice, nice.
yeah, that's so cool,
It's
man.
August 12th. It's coming out in like a couple of weeks, I think.
That's phenomenal. And I really had
Yeah.
no idea that that was coming out. And you know, it's interesting because the way you just broke that down, I'm sitting here, I'm like, whoa, you kind of just nailed all the things that I struggle with. But then very simply, we're like, this is how.
As it should be, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I actually really am excited to just let go. And you know, one of the things that I was thinking about as you were speaking is I always remember what you talked to us about service to others in regards to the law of one. That message always just sticks with me. And I think there's some people on here that haven't heard of that. But if you could just talk about the importance of the law in one and what they say about service to others and how that affects our spiritual growth and transcendence, I would love everyone on here to hear that because
Yeah.
that's something that just literally always is in the back of my mind.
Yeah. As it should be.
Yeah.
It is the path of the heart, no doubt. Um, the Law of One and A Course in Miracles are such great teammates on this topic because the Law of One explains this from a more metaphysical lens of the what and the how. Like, what is the universe? How did it come into being? Why does it exist? Sorry, what and why. A Course in Miracles really just deals with how. How do I get to that fourth density? What do I really need to do to get to the fourth density? It doesn't really explain cosmology at all. The nature of the universe, reincarnation, doesn't even touch the subjects. It's just about heaven is entered two by two, is kind of the philosophy, right, of ACIM. So it's all about using other people as our primary spiritual practice. And this is one of those things, man, where 10, 12 years ago, whenever it was that I really started diving into the course, and it's just all about forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. The other person is your doorway into heaven. I'm like, cool, cool. Yeah, I'm sure that's true. Sounds great. But I'm sure like it's more than that though, right? And I was really more so leaning into the Eastern philosophies at that time of Advaita and whatnot.
Mhm.
And I really thought the course was really great, but not quite as high level as non-duality. And I'm telling you, man, it's so flipped in the last 10 plus years I've been studying it, as I've been putting it into practice in my life, you find like, oh my gosh, there's nothing more challenging to the ego. There's no obstacle greater than other people in my life. And so if we know that all spiritual growth and ascension really comes by way of pain and challenge, at the end of the day, you've got to work through the shit that you're resisting and avoiding and holding on to and clinging to. There's no other way that we really get free other than we kind of have to suffer our way free. So I always say, like, let's suffer wisely, right? Let's make good use of our suffering and not have to repeat it again and again. And we repeat it the most with other people, right? Because other people are the strongest mirrors, especially like a romantic partnership or family. They can reflect every last little trace of you, right? So I see it like this. If I am trying to get to the ultimate realization that I am just pure infinite consciousness, I'm one with God, I'm not really this person, I'm just pretending to be a person for a while. If I want that to be a place I can actually live from, then I've got to overcome my ego identity or persona that thinks I'm otherwise than that, right? All of the small self, the limited beliefs I hold on to, those have to be given up and transcended. The pride, the selfishness. And so if I just sit around all day trying to tell myself I'm pure awareness, but I don't really get to work, like doing that deep inner work, then I might be doing that for the next 3 lifetimes for all I know. Because at the end of the day, like I know I'm pure awareness, but there's a whole lot of psychology up here in the way of that realization being permanently integrated, right? The ego mind is always trying to tug me out of that awareness. Be like, nope, you're just a small person with lots of problems, right? And I have to keep getting out of that story and back into pure awareness because those are distortions in my energy centers. So as long as they're there, as long as I don't look at them and do something about them, heal them, love them, forgive them, they're always going to be there. They're not just going to give up the fight for no reason. So ACIM to me is the highest, most cutting edge type of spiritual teaching that there is, at least in our third density world we live in, because it is the truth. It is like the highest level you could ever compete at in a sport. To me is the gameplay that ACIM describes, which is when you go out into your world, see nothing but the Christ. Just like Jesus said, do not judge by outer appearances, but judge with righteous, truthful judgment. And it's truthful to see the divine essence in others and say, you're not your body, just like I'm not my body, right? I can't just try to keep that realization to myself and be like, it's okay, I'm not a body, I'm an infinite being. Yeah, but look at all these assholes and jerks out here. Doesn't work that way, right?
Right.
Whatever perspective I want to have of myself, I must apply universally. Because on the positive polarity, which all of us are on and striving to increase on, you only get to keep what you constantly give away. So that's really the necessity of service to others, is that you can't ascend on this spiritual path all by yourself in a room meditating and reading or something. At some point, like all that stuff is good and you should do that. You should spend lots of time alone in a room meditating and reading. But at some point, you've got to take all that wisdom and knowledge you've gained and take it out into the real world and say, how do I actually react now to triggering experiences? How do I react to being blamed and falsely accused and all these things that happen in the human experience? And if you can't bring that awareness and knowledge there, then you lack integration and you need to keep working on integration. And so if I had to summarize what really causes integration and embodiment, it's other people in my life. It's using other people like an alchemist's fire or something to refine myself with. Because in the other person, I see reflected back at me all my agitations, all my judgments, all my impatience, all my biases, all my need to be right. It's all there in full 3D Technicolor. And it's not there when I'm meditating by myself in a room. So we definitely need to have a balance of both. But I've really leaned more into the get out into the world, be in relationship, be of service, try to improve the world, connect to the real human experiences that are happening in the world. Because I used to ignore things like the Gaza genocide or whatever and say, well, that's happening in a dream. It's not really real. I'm just the Christ, not the ego. And enough time of doing that started to make me feel like I was turning into a spiritual frontal lobotomy patient or something, that I had no ability to really connect to the human experience, the pain and the pleasure of it. I was like more numb and dissociated from it because I was trying to integrate this awareness without the actual application and practice, which is being in the world and being in relationship with everything in the most loving way possible. And so when you are living a lifestyle of service to others, it kind of necessitates you to be constantly practicing giving and receiving. Because obviously you have to be serving the other, and then you have to be accepting them as they are, right? You can't truly be of service to somebody if you're judging them for where they are. You
Mm.
have to come with this open-hearted compassion and receive the person in whatever state they're in, whether they're in pain, whether they've gone down a really dark path and they're doing evil stuff. You've got to fully accept where that person is if you have any chance of being of service to them. So you see that this practice demands the most out of you. And that's why the Course and Law of One and so many sacred texts point to it as the ultimate way. And now the Law of One does also emphasize, as you know, heavily on catalyst integration. Like pay attention to your life experiences each day. Maybe at the end of the day, do a little daily review and recall any experiences you had with what? Other people, right? And
Mm.
the challenges that came up. So it's like even catalyst integration, that whole practice the law of one teaches, it's going to be mostly service to others based stuff. It's going to be mostly related to other people in your life. So no matter what way you slice it, man, everything in the universe exists in relationship and you can't get out of it even if you wanted to. You are in relationship right now to countless different things, right? The chair you're sitting on. You're in relationship to the oxygen in the room that you're breathing. You're in relationship to the sound of my voice and the thoughts in your mind. You cannot escape the fact of relationship. And so I say, why not just try to practice making all those relationships loving?
Mm. Oh, I love that so much. Our mission here at the Heart Coherence Collaborative is to get people in touch with the healing power of the heart.
And we really need your help. Right now, only 1% of viewers subscribe. We are aiming to take that number to 6%.
The reason why we want to do that is the more people that subscribe, the more people in the world can learn the magical practice of heart coherence.
So please help us out. If you've ever listened, if you love this message, please just take a moment to subscribe.
Thank you so much. We love you.
We love you.
Now, if you had to do one practice to try and embody what you were just saying, would that be read A Course in Miracles, or what? Like, where should somebody start? Because when you're speaking it, it resonates as so true and effortless, but 95% of the people I know are not there. You know, they're in that lack you were talking about. They're in that thinking they're separate from somebody else, and they would love to be where you are. So where should we all start?
That's another tough question, man. I don't typically, like to give universal instructions to everybody because we're all at such different places in our spiritual growth. And for one person, the practice of forgiveness, they might truly be ready for that practice and they could really do it, like pure ACIM type stuff. But for somebody who's kind of newer to the spiritual awakening journey, they might not be anywhere near ready to really practice that with the efficiency they need to. And so they might need a preliminary practice first, right? But with that all aside,
Sure.
I would also agree with the Course that if you're really looking for the most bang for your buck spiritual practice, well, you can ask yourself, what is like the hardest possible thing that the ego can do? What's the hardest possible thing you could try to make your ego do? And like really think about it. And if you really think about it, we're all going to come down to the same answer, which is to forgive somebody who betrayed me and abused me or something like that, right? To let somebody off the hook who's wronged me is like the ego's absolute last thing it wants to do.
Yeah.
So that's how we know for a fact it is the most effective spiritual practice because it hits the ego where he's weakest, right? Right at the Achilles heel of the ego. Ego doesn't want to forgive. And so when you practice this, it's just it puts the ultimate demand on the ego to give up its judgments. And so the way that you have to look at forgiveness, I think, is pretty specific because if you don't understand what we're really saying when we talk about forgiveness, spiritual ego is going to hijack that idea and make it so unpalatable and even make it feel wrong to forgive someone. And so I want to give a few caveats on that. The first one being forgiving somebody has nothing to do with saying that what you did to me in the past is totally fine, right? 2 thumbs up. It's all forgiven. I'm happy about it. Of course not. No, no, no. No one is asking you to say that what was wrong is right. That's not what forgiveness is. And A Course in Miracles does a good job of explaining this too, I think, where it says forgiveness is not to make someone else's illusion real and then ask you to overlook that reality. Forgiveness asks you to see the illusion as an illusion. that it's not actually real, right? So there's a kind of funny paradoxical line in the course about this that says, um, forgiveness, salvation is a paradox indeed, for it asks that you forgive what no one ever did.
Mhm.
And that's a tough one, right? Because you're like, oh, now we're getting into spiritual bypass territory, right? To look at my past abuse and say no one ever did that, that's dangerous. And I completely agree. It can be dangerous if you don't understand what that means. So again, we have two perspectives to look at everything from. We have the divine self and then the human ego self. And spiritual ascension is not about more and more adopting the divine perspective and obfuscating and pushing away and getting rid of the human experience. It's a bringing the human with the divine all the way through. So it's a full acknowledgement from the start to finish of the human experience. When we say things like the ego is an illusion or the world is Maya, it's all an illusion, what we mean is it's not eternal. That's it. It's not going to last forever, and it's constantly undergoing change. So it kind of seems real now because we're moving slowly through time. But in the grand scheme, it's not even real. It's like a wave in the ocean. It's here and gone, here and gone. So that's all it means to say something's an illusion. It doesn't mean, oh, this isn't really happening. Ignore it, bypass it. And that's the way people hear these kind of non-duality teachings wrongly sometimes and can get into trouble, accidentally bypassing things. And I'm speaking from personal experience on this. So we don't want to do that, right? We want to know what we really mean when we say, forgive what no one ever did. So here's what it means. The Course lays it out in this dichotomy. There's the Christ and the ego. And your problem is you think and believe you're the ego, but really you're just the Christ. And the ego is an illusion. It's like a dream you're having or something. And so I have to see myself and everybody this way. And so forgiveness is only saying whatever happened to your body, the human, the ego, doesn't really happen to the Christ because the Christ nature is the divine nature. It can't be changed. It cannot be harmed by anything that happens in the human experience, no matter what chaos and pain and turmoil you go through. Your Christ divine nature is unaffected. It is as eternal as God. And so the Course is speaking to you as a concession that you still think you're this ego, but it's always pointing you to your true nature, which is the Christ. And so when it says, forgive what no one ever did, it could have gone on to say, to the Christ, right? What you really are, rest assured, my friend, is unabused, unabandoned, has never been harmed by anyone or anything. It's perfect and eternal. So keep knowing yourself as that, and yet that is having a human experience too. So we need to look at the human part of us and say, yeah, that was so painful. It was so wrong that they did that to you. And it's okay to hurt about that. And come here, let me hold you while we cry together. You need to bring the human experience close to the heart, not make it feel like it's an illusion that doesn't matter. Because trust me, guys, I don't care how cutting edge the non-duality teaching is, you can never use it to get rid of an uncomfortable feeling or memory you have. No matter how piercing is your realization, if you have a trauma in the system, it will keep resurfacing at some point until it is finally loved and accepted and acknowledged. Your pain wants to be acknowledged, right? Not dismissed. And you can acknowledge that there's pain without identifying with ego, right? Me, the Christ, the divine self, am going through a human experience and it involves pain. And the pain was real when I experienced it. It really impacted me. And so you need to forgive it, right? So when we talk about forgiving someone from your past who's wronged you, we aren't saying what you did is now right and good and you should have done it, even if it played a big purpose in our life, right? That doesn't change the dynamics of universal law. It is always wrong to harm someone 100% of the time. It can't be made right just because you're trying to forgive someone. Forgiveness is saying, I know that that was really your false nature that did that. I know that that could not have possibly been your Christ nature. And so because I know that you are the Christ, not your ego, I will forgive you. Why? Because if I want to know the same for myself, I have got to give it away to others. Because if I don't give that realization to others, that you are the Christ, you are not your body, you are not the mistakes you've made, you are not your past. If I want to have that about myself and be free of my own guilt, I have to free everybody else too. And so the Course says, by offering freedom, you will be free. And brother, it's the truest statement I've ever heard in my life.
I love that. I was thinking about something you were saying when you started about the law of one, and how they have like a self-reflection process, and then what you were just saying about the Course in Miracles. I'm curious, like, what type of analysis should people be doing throughout the day to keep this all in check? It's easy for one resentment to just run for a day, a week, a month, a year, a lifetime. And
Yeah.
so, where should people start with the course? How should they incorporate this into their life? And I know you said that for each person it's a little unique and different, but in general,
Mhm.
what kind of discipline should people set up in their life to make this possible?
Yeah, well, the central, like the crux around which this entire book revolves is chapter 3 on, it's called the emotional guidance system. And as I said, the heart is the kind of central pillar of all practices I teach. Um, like to me, fourth density consciousness is synonymous with saying heart-based consciousness, because this is the fourth density, right? And so it's all through the heart, but that's also synonymous with saying it's all through this theme we're talking about of giving and receiving and loving relationship. And so our emotions are they are the most accurate feedback device we have. That's probably the simplest way to put it. Your emotions are, how should I say this? Your emotions are divine intelligence within you. So they are as immutable and perfect as the mind of God. And the confusing thing about emotions is that they've been so misunderstood by humanity that we have these common phrases like, well, you can't trust your emotions because your emotions can lead you astray. So, you should always trust your mind or whatever. And it's like, no, your emotions can't lead you astray because emotions are non-conceptual. An emotion isn't a concept. It doesn't tell you what to do. It can't tell you what to do. An emotion is a sensation. That's it. It's the mind that attaches meaning to the sensation and creates a narration that says, you should go do this or you shouldn't go do that. That's not the emotion's fault. The emotion is just the feedback. It's just the reflection from deep within your inner being. Something is rising up to tell you you have a thought or perception that is out of alignment with eternal truth right now. Meaning, because you are truth, you are the Christ, you are eternal truth itself, then thinking falsely must feel negative. It's metaphysical law, it's simple laws of logic, right? If you are essentially the positive polarity, let's put it that way, then to think incorrectly about reality must feel negative because it's the antithesis of what you are. So that's the first step to really using our emotions as a guidance mechanism throughout the day, is that whenever I feel negative, no matter how subtle it might be, like I should pause and check in with myself and look at that emotion and say, what is the underlying belief operating right now that's causing me to feel this way? Because your emotions, again, are signaling your self perception. If I perceive or think about myself, in other words, in a way that God doesn't see me or think about me, then I will always feel a negative emotion, such as I am lacking.
Mm.
My happiness depends on outcomes. I'm in control. All three of these beliefs have to feel like suffering because they're not true, and they will lead to more and more suffering in daily living. So your emotional guidance system is there to warn you. It's like the emotion has to feel uncomfortable. Otherwise, how would you ever know that you were thinking incorrectly? If it felt good to think that I'm lacking, I would just go on believing it for infinity. I could never correct that wrong belief. So it has to feel bad to think that. And I'm glad it does. But where we go really wrong and compound the problem, the issue that's happening, is when we demonize the emotion and kind of point to the emotion like, you're bullying me. Leave me alone, sadness. I'm sick of you already. And that relationship to our emotions, our negative emotions, obviously is going to make them more extreme. Why? Because it's more incorrect thoughts, right? It's more incorrect perceptions. You're just stacking them on each other. So the emotion has to get more intense, the more you resist it, because you're just going further into delusion. So if we see our emotions more like the bumpers on a bowling lane or something, they're there to keep you in alignment. And when you go out of alignment, they're supposed to buzz, right? Well, now we can see sadness and anger and fear as friendly messengers from our inner world, right? They're like the soldier on the horse that comes from a faraway land and comes up to the king, panting, "My lord, an army's coming, prepare the soldiers," right? You're like, "Oh, thank you, good servant." It's like it's not pleasant news to receive, right? No king wants to hear that, But should he drive a spear through the servant, the messenger who tells him that? That doesn't make any sense. He should be thanking that guy, right, for the bad news. And so that's how we should think about our negative emotions. It's like, well, I don't prefer to feel negative or something, but if I do feel negative, it means I've already gone astray in my thinking. It's too late. I've already thought or perceived something incorrectly. So that's the real truth, right? Not that your emotions lead you astray, but that by the time you feel a negative emotion, you've already gone astray. You've already been thinking wrongly about yourself, about life, about God. And so you have to be corrected. This is just one of the metaphysical laws we have to get used to, is that we live in a universe of perfect balance. So you cannot imbalance the universe with your mind. The degree to which you try to imbalance the universe, such as seeing it as evil, seeing it as unfair, seeing it as lacking, judging it, fearing it, any negative perception of the universe, you should see it as if it's like you're trying to imbalance the universe, because it's not really that way. And so that's what causes universal law, which we call karma. It must then violate you in equal measure, because the universe can't be imbalanced. So somebody's got to pay the imbalance, so to speak, the debt, and it falls on us. So when we think, perceive, behave out of alignment with eternal truth, we always suffer. We always create and generate more negative karma. So the only way out of this is giving and receiving, right? We've got to start giving love and acceptance to the universe and accepting what it's giving to us, and stop complaining about your life so much and just say, look, whatever my life is like right now, I created it somehow, inadvertently, right? Through complaining, suffering, judging. I'm just getting a return movement of the quality of my thinking throughout my life. And if you can't accept that, then you're just going to be doomed to live in victim consciousness forever. And there is no winning from that point of view. There just isn't. You can never win from the victim point of view. So you might as well take the most empowered stance and say, no, my life experiences are not happening to me. I am generating them. I've just been unaware of it until now. So it's kind of like being scared of a shadow on the wall. Like I really thought it was there and I was scared, but now I know it's not really there. That's the attitude we should have about our relationship to life and how we create our reality. Is that no one's blaming you. It's not like it's your fault that you're suffering. That's not the message at all. It's that the universe is trying to wake us all up, and it's kind of slapping us a little harder each time. And you just have to keep getting slapped until you wake up sometimes. Yeah. Kind of like if you and me, Kyle, were on a road trip and I'm driving and you're in the passenger seat, and you wake up from a nap and you look over and I'm just like snoozing at the wheel, and we're barreling towards a cliff or whatever, or the edge of a bridge. And you know you've got about 30 seconds to save both of us. Are you going to gently rub me on the back and whisper in my ear, wake up, buddy, we're all gonna die? You probably wouldn't do that, right? You'd probably just slap me on the back of the head or something. You would do something very forceful to wake me up. And that's kind of a good analogy for what the universe does to us, that the more we go on thinking, perceiving, feeling incorrectly about life, about ourselves, we have to be increasingly corrected. It has to feel increasingly bad in that sense. And so at some point, the soul gets this message and says, okay, I can't win from that point of view of being the victim, chasing happiness and outcomes and all this stuff. I've got to abandon these points of view. I say in the book, the only way to win the ego's rat race is to not play it, right? Because you can win the rat race in the ego's kingdom by all means, right? There's plenty of people out there who've won the rat race, celebrities or whatever, but you're still a rat, right?
Yeah.
Nothing has really fundamentally changed. You're still lacking and incomplete. You need to get your happiness from outcomes. All the same patterns are there. And so we want to actually just abandon it altogether. And so the key is to catch yourself when you start playing in the rat race as soon as possible, because you're going to keep doing it, right? It's programmed into you. You're still partially rat in your brain. So you're going to keep entering the rat race. But it's about how soon can I catch myself engaging in the rat race and disengage from it. And to me, the best point of feedback we have by far is our own state of being, because your own state of being never lies to you. You'll never feel bad when you actually feel good, right? You always know exactly how you feel. It's clear and unmissable. Nobody has to wonder how they feel right now. And so that's why it's the best point of feedback, is if I ever feel negative, I know that that's not my true nature. And so it means that there's something in my mind that needs to be looked at and forgiven, and in that sense, corrected. And I use the sense correct loosely because there's nothing wrong with any thought. People are allowed to think whatever they want. And if people want to think damaging thoughts for 15,000 lifetimes, by all means, the universe will let them. So this isn't about right and wrong. It's just about accurate or inaccurate, helpful or unhelpful, true or false, right? And I don't know about you, Kyle, but I just want to think thoughts that are helpful and true and loving in that sense, right?
That is absolutely correct. And so now, just putting this into practicality, something comes up in my life where I'm fearful, and then I notice that I'm sort of, acting on fear, and I say I'm not playing this game. I return to the state you were talking about, unity consciousness. What happens to the emotion when we do that? Does it dissolve? Does it?
Yeah, great question. It's sort of different in every case based on how charged the emotion is. I think the really important thing to mention here is that each one of those three beliefs, and again, I go into like really huge detail on it in this book. It's kind of hard to summarize it in a short conversation, but I'll do my best, which is that each belief has to have its own unique turnaround or remedy, if you prefer that. And so I give the correct attitude to adopt in the form of affirmations in the book that are like convenient summaries of the attitude. But the attitude itself, it has to be like a philosophical insight or something. It has to be a real seeing that you have where you understand, oh, this really is what's true. So for example, you brought up fear. Fear is the third belief. It's the emotion that signals the third belief, I am in control. Whenever you think you're losing control, whenever the ego doesn't have control or thinks it's losing it, some kind of fear will be the response, right? So fear is the messenger that comes to tell me my ego is trying to take control over something right now, and I need to surrender that to God. So that's the attitude, is surrender and trust. As soon as I notice myself getting anxious, getting stressed out, I have to get used to recognizing that state of being, saying, oh, going into fear again, and say, what do I need to surrender? What is my mind trying to control? So that's kind of the key question of the key self-inquiry point is for the first belief, what does my mind think that I'm lacking right now? And really like lean into that question and let the answers start coming through, right? I feel like I'm lacking love or appreciation or purpose or something like that. That's the first belief. Second belief, what attachment is on the pedestal right now? What outcome is on the pedestal in my mind? What am I attached to that I need to let go of? So the second belief is all about detachment and seeing where we're placing our hope in the future and future outcomes, and just reminding ourselves there's no future outcome that can make me truly happy. If I can't be happy right now, it definitely is not waiting for me in the future. So I don't want happiness in the future. I want it right now. And that starts by giving up this attachment.
Wow.
That's the attitude for the second belief. And then the third is what I already said, is whatever that thing is you're trying to control, whether you like to pray, whether you like to meditate, whether you like to visualize, have an experience within yourself where you consciously speak to the divine and say, I give this to you. I know I can't handle this, but I know you can. There's something so powerful by acknowledging that from me, from the ego position, I know for sure I can't do this. The universe really likes that attitude because it's extremely correct, right? The ego can't do anything of its own accord. Even what it can do is just divine power moving through it, right? It's like a sock puppet. It's no good without a hand inside of it. So when you acknowledge that, the universe is like, yeah, very good. And we call that grace, right? When we receive grace from God or the universe, it really means that we're humbling ourselves. Like humility is always the prerequisite for grace, or good karma, it's sometimes called. So in saying, I am not in control, but I am being lived, right? I'm not the one doing all the living and all the controlling. I'm being lived by the divine mind. And then you're giving up all power back to the universe. And the universe also really likes that because it's also very true. So that's the practical summary of how you use this practice from the three beliefs of ego throughout your day. It might sound complex at first, but it becomes very simple and touch and release. And you can do it within, split seconds at times when you get really used to this practice. I feel sad, or I feel anger, or I feel fear, and I go right to the turnaround, the clarification, right? The correction. And the key is when I go to the truth, when I say those things like, I'm not in control, Lord, you are in control. Something in me should feel it when I say it, even if it's the tiniest positive emotion. Or sometimes I'll say, even if it's just a tiny release of contraction, right? Even if you don't necessarily feel good saying it, do you feel less bad? Do you feel less negative, even a little bit? You just want to look for even the smallest shift in your state of being. And that is the signal that you for sure requalified that belief, at least a little bit. You took a little more juice out of it. Why? Because your inner being heard the truth and responded yes to it, said yes, felt positive, felt expansive. And that's how you know the subconscious is getting it. And that's what healing is really about, right? It's about getting the message into the subconscious mind. Our conscious mind has all the freaking answers, man. We've read every book, in the neighborhood at this point. But it's the subconscious mind that needs to believe it and be convinced. And so when you spend time feeling your emotions, tuning into yourself, that in and of itself is very relaxing, and it builds trust in your subconscious to open up to you more and more. And it'll give you more and more information. And so when you go through a contemplative prayer or meditation, let's say with anger, right? For example, you say, I see this attachment to this outcome, and I know that even if I get it, it cannot satisfy me. I have acquired countless outcomes in my life, millions probably, that I chased and pursued. And here I am suffering nonetheless. I've been through this. I am not going to learn the same lesson over and over anymore. God, I surrender this attachment to you. That outcome cannot give me anything I want, because all I really want is to feel at peace right now. And I can't feel at peace when I'm chasing something in the future. So I give this attachment up. Now, even me saying that, somebody probably felt good, right? Something in you probably responded. I could see it on you, Kyle, a little bit.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
like, yeah, that's the sweet spot, man. That feels good.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the experience we're trying to get in requalifying the ego's thoughts and beliefs. It should be a real inner experience you have to some degree. Some days you are going to have a joyful, ecstatic, download or revelation. That's going to be amazing. And you're going to feel a huge shift that day. Those days will definitely happen. Other days, you're in the trenches, man. You're in the density, and you feel you're in the darkness. You can't even see where you're going. You're crying out to God. And you do this practice and you just feel a tiny bit less negative. And that's your win for the day, right? Stop putting pressure on yourself to do it all, heal it all, be enlightened today, tonight. Just be grateful for whatever progress you get on this path, because it's all eternal progress, right? Consciousness can never de-evolve. It can never descend back into ignorance once it has truly seen something, once it's truly awakened. So this is why Jesus said, don't store up treasures for yourself here on earth. Lay up the treasures that are in heaven, because those are eternal treasures that you cannot lose, that cannot be stolen from you, right? He's absolutely correct. Every little degree of spiritual progress we make, every degree we open the heart, is an eternal degree that we never lose again. And I think from that perspective, we can feel a lot more at ease about the spiritual path, take some pressure off ourselves, and actually enjoy the process a little bit more.
Yeah. I'm genuinely excited to read this book. I have a men's group and we're going to read it as our book club. How can we get this book? Is it available now to pre-order, or is it not something? I'm sure everyone here.
Yeah, it's available for pre-order on Amazon and a bunch of other bookstores, but you can get it on Amazon for pre-order. It's on Kindle. It'll be on audiobook, and of course, hardcover, softcover. So that's 3 weeks away. It'll be like mailed to you if you pre-order it. So we're getting pretty close, but yeah, it is available now.
Yeah. Any help you need getting the word out about that book, I would love to help you, because I love your message. Everything you just shared, I want everybody I know to read that book. So thank you for sharing all this wisdom. I have one more question.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
I have one more question before we go into the meditation. How are we evolving as a collective consciousness in regards to being more heart-centered?
Well, there's no question we are evolving towards the fourth density. Those who may not be familiar with the densities model, the simplest way to think about it is it's the evolution of the energy centers or the chakras in a civilization or species. So the human being is in the 3rd density, which means we have solar plexus, sacral, and root chakra activated from birth. But although most human beings only operate or live from three chakras, red, orange, yellow, we actually do have the other ones available in potential. But the heart is the great stepping stone, as Ra says, and that's the fourth density. And so every density, what's the word? Like converges towards the following one, meaning the lessons you have to learn to get to the density ahead of you, you've got to actually learn how to be like that density in this one, which is kind of the paradox. So if the fourth density represents love, unity, consciousness, then the law of one says, in order for your soul to actually graduate to that realm after your incarnation is over, you have to prove that you can live in third density, 51% or greater from the heart, from the fourth density, from service to others. And so the 51% is kind of the famous standard that Ross sets for graduation. And so when it comes to getting to that percentage, this kind of practice we're talking about, there's no greater way to get there than this. There's no faster lane you can drive in than this. Like if you're practicing these things, being in the state of giving and receiving, like that literally is the state of the heart. And you can verify this for yourself, you guys. If you've ever taken a really heart-opening plant medicine, for example, sometimes a cacao ceremony can do this, where it puts you in this almost altered state of unbelievable love for everyone around you. And if you can go back to that memory, whether it's cacao or MDMA or something like that, we've all had those experiences of unbelievable heart opening. What was the metaphysical state your mind was in? Giving and receiving, right? You just couldn't wait to love somebody. You want to tell people how great, how beautiful they are, right? And everyone that comes up to you, you're fully accepting them. You're seeing the divine in them. That's the fourth density state. And so we all have proof that we can have that now, but it just has to be gradually earned day by day, degree by degree. And so we do it through these kind of practices we've been talking about tonight.
Beautiful. All right, brother. You have time to guide us in a meditation?
I would love to, man. Let's do it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll just close down the eyes for a few moments together and begin to breathe in through the nose, long and slow. And just trying to really pull apart or elongate that breathing pattern. Long, slow inhale, long, slow exhale. And I know we've heard a lot of words tonight. We've discussed a lot of concepts, which are great. But now it's time to just turn off the thinking mind for a few moments, and we'll get right back to it. But for now, we're going to turn off the thinking mind to the best of our ability and just feel and just be with what is right now. So continue to breathe. Continue to slow down and deepen the breath. And just perform a quick body scan as you breathe. I want you to especially feel into the quality of the energy in your body. And if you notice any contracted energy, just hold your awareness there and give that part of you some attention. And almost like talking to a friend who's going through something, just sit with it for a few moments and say, I'm here, my friend. I feel you. You are seen. I understand how you feel. Whatever it is, Whatever it is you feel, that's perfectly okay. And I want you to really tell yourself that it's okay to feel this in my body. Everything is here to be loved. And now, as you hold this emotion in love and acceptance, I want you to ask yourself, what is the underlying emotion here? Because it can only be one of three negative emotions. It can be some form of sadness, maybe hopelessness, depression, grief, sorrow, shame, some form of sadness. It could be some form of anger, some resentment, some bitterness, some unfairness, some injustice, some rage, frustration. Or it might be some form of fear, stress, worry, anxiety. Look into this feeling and understand its root emotion, sadness, anger, or fear. And it might be a mixture of the two or three, but just give me the surface level feeling, the most prominent one, the strongest one. And if you want, you can do all three, one at a time. If I feel any emotion of sadness, then I know for certain that my heart is telling me there's a lack belief ruling my mind. And so I simply ask myself, what is this feeling trying to say that I'm lacking? What is it pointing me to? And this lack belief may emerge in the form of a person, a place, or a thing, a noun of some sort, an object. And if that happens, then I want you to look past the surface layer, past the form, into the inner essence of what you really desire, what you really think you're lacking, and identify what that word is. It could be love, could be acceptance, could be grace, hope, strength, empowerment, faith. What is it? What is the essence that I believe I am lacking? And I want you to place a hand over your heart for a moment. And when the answer comes, just say thank you. Thank you, love, for showing me this. Thank you for showing me that deep within, I have a belief that I am lacking. Fill in the blank. And as A Course in Miracles says, we remind ourselves, only what I do not give can ever be lacking. And so I know I must give this essence that I desire. If I want to experience it, I must give it. And when I give it, I prove that I am the source of it. When I give love, I prove that I am the source of love. When I give hope, I prove that I am the source of hope. Giving is proof of having. And so just make a commitment to yourself in this moment. I'm going to focus from tonight onwards on giving this quality more, giving it to others. If I feel hopeless, I'm going to encourage other people to feel hopeful about their life and circumstance. If I feel ashamed and judged, I'm going to make others feel forgiven and accepted. Just take a moment and make this commitment to yourself. And next we move to the belief in attachment, that external things can fulfill me. And so I want everyone, we'll just do it together, to reach down inside yourself and find the last thing you were angry about. What really ticked you off? What felt unfair? Usually it's the easiest answer to find. And so when you find it, ask yourself, what am I attached to in this outcome that is causing this anger? Because as surely as the sun will rise, if the ego's attachments get blocked or denied, the ego will always feel some form of anger in response. Even the attachment to other people should always be nice to me. Even something as simple as that can be an attachment for the ego. And so when someone is going through a hard time and they're rude to you, you take it personally and you get angry. So whatever it is, find it. Find the attachment to the outcome. And say thank you to the emotion of anger for being such a great guide to your attachments. Thank you, anger, for showing me what I've been holding on to and chasing. And I'm ready to give this attachment up. Even if the outcome that I want feels like it would be for my highest good. The when and the how and the where is not up to me. It's up to God. So I surrender this attachment, knowing that whatever's for me cannot miss me. But what I really want is not happiness in the future, but happiness right now. And true happiness is empty of striving and clinging. So I surrender this attachment. And just spend a moment and have this sobering recognition within yourself that no outcome in your past has ever fulfilled you, except for fleeting moments. And so you don't want to make this mistake again. And so in our desire to be happy and at peace and in alignment with reality now, we happily give up all we've been attached to. And finally, I want you to reach inside yourself one more time and contact the last thing that stressed you out or brought fear into your mind. What are you afraid of? What have you been running from? In other words, where in your life have you not been trusting in God? Where have you been efforting Where have you been trying to do it all on your own? Look within yourself and ask that question. What is my ego trying to control here? You could also ask, what am I in resistance to? Because resistance is the first act of control. And then, when the answer comes, you can place your hand over your heart one last time and say, thank you to my emotional guidance system. Thank you, fear, for coming to warn me that I'm trying to take control over life when life is already in my favor, when life already has my absolute best interest in mind and my highest good in mind, and I'm trying to control it. So, of course, that feels daunting and overwhelming because it's not true and it's impossible. I cannot control my life. I can only love it and flow with it and receive it and dance with it and sing with it. But like a true lover, it cannot be controlled. And so, because I want to be in loving relationship with life, I happily give up this control. I give up my resistance towards what's unfolding in my life. Whatever the situation is, just give it up, knowing it to be a futile endeavor. And when you give it up, you should feel something inside you expand. Say yes. Say thank you. You know better than I, Lord. So I'll gladly take what answers you supply, and I'll keep my trust in you. Take a deep breath into that prayer right now. We'll spend one more moment together, just allowing you some space to repeat that, to let your heart cry out, thank you, thank you, thank you. And now, as we conclude this meditation with great gratitude for this amazing chakra tune-up, system reboot, just requalifying the ego's beliefs, knowing that I am infinite abundance. I am already complete and free in my Father's world. We're so grateful, God, that you've allowed us to see this in a deeper way tonight. So we give our thanks and praise to you, the One, the Almighty, the presence of perfect love. We acknowledge you. We thank you. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Slowly bringing your attention back, breathing in, breathing out. Feeling your awareness back in the body, back in the room. And one last deep breath. And so it is.
Thank you, brother. There was so much freedom in that. And I just want to thank you for this whole session. It's been absolutely mind blowing. And I'm really just honored to be a friend. And yeah, man, just
Likewise, bro.
everything you're up to in the world, I have your back. And so, is there any way that our collaborative can support you with everything that you have going on?
Yeah, well, first, thank you so much, man, for inviting me back. It's always such a blast to be here with you guys. And you guys cultivate such like a raw, authentic energy that as somebody who does a lot of podcasts and joins a lot of group calls and things, you guys really do have a beautiful, unique frequency here. And it's just a pleasure to be involved in it in any way. And so, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, you can find me at all the usual spots at Aaron Abke, whether Instagram or YouTube. And of course, I think if you resonated with tonight's teaching, man, you are going to love this book. And I just want to say one last thing on the book, by the way, that it's titled A Sufferer's Guide to Freedom, because I wanted it to be written to somebody who is really suffering and is like, I need help. I need to know how to break free from this self-created prison I'm in. That was where I was, almost 10 years ago now when I had my big awakening. And so I wanted this to be like the blueprint or the field guide that I wish I had all those years ago. And so reading this book is not going to, of course, completely set you free, solve your problems. You're never going to suffer again in any way. You're going to still feel negative emotions. But what I hope this book does for everyone is give them super simple, graspable ways of approaching these uncomfortable feelings that we call suffering, and understanding as well, and understanding what it all really means and what it's really pointing you to and how it really is working for your highest good. As much as we don't want to admit that sometimes, or we hate that sometimes, it is always the case that the greater the obstacle, the greater the suffering, the greater the freedom on the other side. And this book, I think, shows you that truth in a very clear way and just gives you some really simple tools to feel like empowered to go back into your daily life and really start living these truths and requalifying the ego's beliefs. And it's one of those practices that when you just make it a new kind of lifestyle or way of being, if you prefer, then a couple years goes by and you look back and go, man, you know what? Like a couple years ago when I started that practice, like lack was just eating my lunch, man. My bank account was empty and all this stuff, no friends in my life. And now look at where I'm at. I hardly even think about lack anymore. I feel so abundant. It's like, when did it happen? When did I stop believing in lack and I became abundant? And it didn't happen, right? It's not like that. It's more like falling asleep at night, where you wake up in the next morning. If somebody were to ask you, Kyle, like, Kyle, when did you fall asleep last night? What moment was it?
Right.
Not be able to tell them, right? Because it was like slowly and then all at once.
Right.
It's like a little bit like that on the spiritual path. So this is just a book that equips you with the tools to walk the journey that I'm walking alongside of you.
Awesome, man. Well, our group here is about to go on a 10-day journey of just going into the heart every day. Do you have any final message for them?
Oh man, there's no better way to spend your time
Yeah.
on this plan. I'm really convinced of this, man. In 40 University, the primary kind of bedrock spiritual practice we teach is just kind of basic bhakti yoga or devotion, which is, there's different ways to practice bhakti, of course. My preferred method of practice is kind of the Yogananda, St. Lawrence kind of approach of practicing the presence of God. And so the practice is very simple. And this is always how you get the best results, by the way, is not by doing a bunch of different spiritual practices all at once, but just doing one spiritual practice with all your heart and soul. That's how you really ascend. And when you do this practice like that, you say, I'm going to just, as many times as I possibly can today, I'm going to think about God and just spend at least 2 seconds pausing from the hustle and bustle of the 3D and just go within and say, thank you, God, for your love, or thank you, God, for your presence, or I acknowledge you, God. In whatever way you want to do it, like acknowledge the presence of God in this moment, because guess what? It's always here, right? We're the dummies who let go of it over and over again. The presence of God does not leave us. And so we're all like, how do I establish myself in the presence of God and just stop suffering? Well, you probably should practice it, right? Because that's not your current default mode. So how do we make a new default mode by any other way than just daily, heartfelt, consistent practice. This is the way we do anything in the 3D game, right? It's the way you learn an art form. It's the way you master a hobby or a sport or speaking publicly or writing. Like you've got to do it over and over and over and over because you're passionate about it, because you love it. And if you really love it, then it really turns into something remarkable, right? Like we might consider enlightenment. You have to love the path to enlightenment to be worthy of enlightenment. And to me, the real path is I've got to connect to the state I want to embody on a continual basis, right? We all want spiritual freedom or liberation because we imagine it as a constant state of peace and okayness and happiness, groundedness. We want that state on an ongoing basis, right? It's the up and down that really drives us crazy, of feeling pretty good one day, horrible the next day, and up and down, up and down. We're tired of the swings, so we want something stable. Well, if that's what we all say we want, it makes sense, doesn't it? That you would have to practice being stable in that state, which means, yeah, you can't be clinging on to attachments and chasing things in the world. And you can't be doing those things ego wants you to do if you expect to really do this practice. So I think whenever you devote yourself to God in this way, through this or any spiritual practice, like if it's a real heartfelt thing, it is kind of synonymous with laying down your pride, your ego, because they have to happen at the same time. They're polarities, right? The degree to which we truly apprehend the truth is the degree to which we've truly let go of the false. So that's the idea that we're kind of working with, I think.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you as well, man.
What I would love for everyone to do now is I'm going to unmute everybody, and I would love for you guys all to just give Aaron your love, blast him with love as you guys head out of here, and feel free to unmute and just send Aaron your love. We love you.
You're going to love bomb me, huh?
Yeah, I think so. Everybody, if they can.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
I love you, Aaron. Blessed be.
Aaron.
I love you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you. Love
Thank you,
you.
Kyle.
Appreciate you. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you.
Very blessing.
All right, bye, everybody.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Aaron.
Lots of love, you guys.